Hello, Allie.
Hey.
Welcome to this episode of the Wonder Jam cast.
Thanks for having me.
I'm honored that you would join me today.
The honor and pleasure is mine.
Correct. That was stupid.
So what are we talking about today?
Today, I'm going to ask you some questions.
Kind of like how last time I asked you questions?
Yeah, I think if someone is trying to crack the secret code of how this thing goes, it's that we alternate back and forth asking each other questions.
Oh my gosh.
They never saw it coming. And now we've ruined the magic of the future. And they're going to be like, oh my gosh,
Yeah, now it's over.
I bet the next episode, Allie's going to ask Adam questions.
Well, you know, the season's almost over.
That makes me sad. What are we going to do next season? Oh my gosh.
I don't know. We got to talk about it.
Jeez. That's a lot of pressure. Producer Michael really has done a nice job getting us to season 3.
Yeah.
And it's like season 4 has a lot of expectations.
I know.
Because general consensus on the internet is that this season is award winning.
Yes.
For sure.
Maybe next season you'll be able to see, feel, hear, and smell.
Yeah. We could do a smell cast.
That's some Willy Wonka stuff right there.
Let's get into it. Question number 1.
Oh, we're going. Okay, yeah. Let's do it.
Going.
All right.
Do you want to say anything?
No.
Question number 1.
Uh-huh.
How would you help somebody decide if rebranding is appropriate and correct for them?
That's a good question. I think the first thing would be if they are constantly needing to explain their brand or correct the name or pronunciation of their brand, or they have to clarify what their logo is. If they're spending too much time, like educating in the wrong way, I think that that's like a great reason.
Right.
I think if you start offering services that are a little bit more expensive, bigger investments, and your branding feels a little cheap, DIY, scrappy, it can help to clean that up a little bit. And then I think if you are trying to communicate a change of ownership or management or policy or really just sort of start over, I think rebranding can be a huge reason to do that and not talk about the thing that was maybe not working before. Like you can refocus the conversation to the rebrand. And then I think the last, like most preference-based reason would be if you don't like your branding. I mean, if you're like, oh, I made this in 2013 and it doesn't feel like me anymore, rebrand. Like, it's your business.
Yeah, you're allowed.
Yeah.
There's
probably a lot of other reasons, but those were the first that came to mind.
So let's talk a little bit about, I'll ask you a follow-up question to that question. Some people you've helped rebrand have had the same brand for a number of years.
Yeah.
What are some reasons that somebody might, if they've had something for a long time? It's easy to rebrand if you've only had this something for a year, or to upgrade, or to shift or pivot or evolve. But what if somebody's like, I've been around for a while and I kind of want to start over?
It's a little
and they've
scary.
had like a bunch of customers or clients or people they've worked with, or they've got like, what would you tell people? Like, how would you, I know there's a lot of questions you would ask. We would sit and talk with people, but what are some important things to think through?
I think the first thing that a lot of our clients don't think about when they're in that situation is how big of an investment that is. It's a bigger investment than just paying a designer to rebrand you, maybe make you a new logo. But when you have signage, or you're like, you have, car wraps, or, you get into a pretty big expense where someone's sitting with a new logo that's technically better or more improved or more like them, but they can't really roll it out.
Yeah.
And I think if people were talking about that first, just understand fully where your logo exists.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say is there's a chance that you won't like your new logo. Like, I think it can be I think it could be really great. But you're so biased that you can't understand that yet. I think it's crazy to expect someone to see a new logo after having theirs for so long and to be like, that's mine, I own it, I feel connection, my customers love it, because none of that's true. And so I think there's things that you need to do that feels, you need to like sit with it for a little while.
Right. I think we've worked with a couple of people recently who have a team and who have had their business for years, more than 5 years. And it's also interesting for them to think through, like, I kind of want my team to like it. Like, I want them to feel connected or excited about the new thing. And some of the owners we work with, it's almost more important to them that their team loves it and gets it and, like, gets behind it and than it is that they do.
Right.
And so I think there's also the other flip side of it where you're like, I want to do this and this is great and everybody else will catch up.
Yeah.
It's important to understand which of those things you need to do first.
Yeah. But it's just a personal decision. I mean, it has to start from a personal decision unless you're like a big corporation and then it doesn't feel like that. But if you're a tiny business, you know, you really have to hug the line of your own preference and then what's best for the people that you are helping or serving or selling to.
Correct. I also want to make a note because I'm reminded of a text message I got from a coaching client this morning. That was, she had a confession for me that she hadn't filed her LLC yet.
Yeah.
Because she wasn't sure what to name her LLC. And she has like a small, tiny side hustle business she's working on growing, but she's just getting started. And I was like, just file something. You will change it in a year.
Yeah, and if you have an LLC, that can be whatever you want it to be called. You can file for a DBA and do business as another name. Yeah. So it doesn't matter.
So if you're a baby business and you're listening to this and you are waiting to get some of that stuff figured out first, just get started. Agreed. And you can course correct later.
Yep. Don't overthink it.
I was thinking of somebody listening to this who was a aspiring health coach who was like starting that and being like, well, I need to like think through all of this stuff. That's kind of the question is a little bit about what if you have a brand that's been around for a bit.
Right.
We'll move on to the next question though.
Cool.
The next question for you, Allie.
Yeah.
This is a real gotcha question. Just kidding, it's not.
Oh gosh.
Lately, what is inspiring you or what's been stirring up your curiosity or a thing you've been motivated about or into? What's been like a creative outlet, something that, talk about that a little bit.
That's a gotcha question. I think that, things that have inspired me. Every time I watch Chef's Table, I get inspired. We just watched another episode. We don't watch them a ton. We like kind of space them out.
It's something about it that's like, it seems like it's an investment and it's, you and I turned it on while we were both working. Yeah. And we both stopped working. It's too engrossing.
You can't not watch. Yeah. Like you couldn't just listen.
Right.
I mean, you could. Anyways.
What do you like about it?
I love the way that it's shot. I love how dramatic the classical music is. Yeah. I love the way the food looks. I love the stories of the chefs. I love how they got there, what their struggles were. And I love food. So.
Talk about so the chefs you always relate to or you like connect with. Yeah. What about the type of people who are that? Like what about that resonates with you?
Most of the time, the chefs that I love, they're not just running everything by themselves. So they have a team, they have like a kitchen staff, they have sous chef, they have an owner if they're not the owner. And I think I resonate with the idea that like a lot of them have to decide like, how can I still continue to cook and make things, but also like build this thing. So one of my favorite episodes is talking through that feeling of like, yeah, success is great, but if you don't get to do the things that you love and interact with your customers, then why?
It was the woman who did bread. She made bread and she found herself.
Yeah, she's in California. I forget her name.
Yeah, I do too. But
we'll link it in the show notes.
Yeah. Tell the story a little bit for somebody who hasn't watched it.
Yeah, so, I mean, she had a lot of success in selling a business and then...
baking, and she had grown this whole, like, line of baked goods that she sold.
And now, I mean, it's been a while. I feel like bread was her second love. So there was something that she sold. Someone's listening to this like, shut up, you don't even know. But the idea was like selling a business and like scaling didn't allow her to like sit behind the counter and make things, talk to her customers in a restaurant. I think she started with pasta and maybe went to bread.
Or vice versa.
Yeah.
I don't, one of those two. But she found herself not having, she liked making the things she was making, but she really liked making the things she was making and then putting it in front of somebody.
Right.
And them taking a bite and her being able to talk about it. And so it was that, like, that interaction was the thing that she really loved.
Yeah.
And she lost that in growing a company and
the
business
way
and
people think
infrastructure.
that you should. Yep.
Yeah. And so she got rid of all of it. I think she sold all of it.
Yeah.
And then went back and opened up a thing where she's serving people again.
For sure. So
I always think it's my... Oh, you go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I've been so inspired lately by celebrities who seem to like hate the fame that they have, and how if you watch things that celebrities do once they have money or wealth, it's they spend time with family, they have a lot of privacy that they pay for, they pay for to not have to worry about things.
Right.
And I think sometimes it's something that we can accomplish without needing to get famous first, is that we can just prioritize those things without losing them.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. You don't have to get to the end and then figure out how to, like, you don't have to achieve the thing and then be like, how do I get out of this?
Yeah.
Or how do I like get back the thing that I had before this?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was trying to find the post, but I can't find it because I shared about it. We'll link it.
We'll link it up. Next question. Recently, you and I have watched a superhero movie twice in theaters, which how many times have you ever done that before?
Never.
Never. Even Titanic?
I don't know.
No.
I never saw it in the theater.
Yeah, same.
I think I rented it.
I don't know why. I assumed you did.
I think we were young enough where I wasn't like going to see romantic dramas in the theater, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Black Panther.
Black Panther. You watched it twice in theaters. Last night we were spending time at a friend's birthday party, and you told them you would go see it again in theaters, and started making plans.
Well, it's because I can't rent it.
You can't rent it.
I know.
But tell me this: you're not even like a movie person, and when you have time to watch movies, you go watch
movies I've seen.
You've
a million
Got Mail,
times.
or She's the Man.
I need to feel no like real
something
conflict.
So, what is it about this movie that resonated with you so much? I think it's well documented. There's a lot of
great
this
things.
movie that people really resonate with. But tell me, from your perspective, what were you drawn to?
I felt like it was not cheesy, and I feel like a lot of action or superhero movies are super cheesy, and like I loved Wonder Woman, but I still was like the cheese ball factor at certain parts was just like I don't love.
Explain that. I want you to explain that part of it.
I don't want to spoil it, but I mean that the idea that like someone becomes stronger because they like love someone, it to me is just like not interesting, even though I think that love is very powerful.
Yeah.
But yeah, and like the costumes sometimes, even like the costuming looks cheesy to me. And I felt like in Black Panther, everything was so subtle that it was like so much easier to consume and was like interesting. And by the second time I saw it, I was like observing different things. Not that you can't do that in other superhero films, but, and then I think there's like a level, I mean, I've always said this, I say this about even the Kardashians. When you don't look like the typical Barbie, like you don't have blonde hair, you're not tall, you're not 100% white, there's just something that's like really great about seeing anyone that also isn't blonde and white and tall. So the diversity, there's actually not a lot of there's a lot of diversity in like within the movie, but not in the way that we talk about it.
Right.
Like there's two like main characters who are white out of like a cast of I don't know how many, a lot.
There's probably in some shots of like the city,
white
there's
people.
probably some like extras.
Probably. It's not like that movie. What is it? The Women? where there's only women in it.
In the movie.
We've talked about this maybe on the podcast, but so I really loved how subtle everything was. I loved how it was still really powerful. I loved, I just loved everything about it.
Yeah.
It was great.
I loved it. It was so nuanced, and it was so, I left, and that was immediately the first thing I said to you was, I was so surprised at how much it wasn't heavy-handed with anything that it was doing. It obviously has a ton of commentary on society, the world we live in, all of that stuff. But even what it was trying to accomplish within the movie, I was like, oh, this is all subtle and well done.
And the soundtrack's dope.
The soundtrack, and then the what I will call the mixtape is a whole other thing, which was amazing.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah. If you go watch the movie and you think that there's going to be a lot of Kendrick Lamar songs in it, you will be disappointed.
Yeah.
I've heard a couple of people.
I didn't go into it wanting that, but
they had the soundtrack come out weeks before the movie did, and the soundtrack was really well received. Yeah. And we've talked to people who have been they were excited to hear all of that in the movie. I was like, the movie's not that. So.
Well, whatever. Those people can go listen to the soundtrack in their room.
You can go listen to the soundtrack in your room.
Yeah.
That's the alternative. Next question.
Okay.
You like food.
I do.
You like eating.
Oh my gosh, I love food.
It's a good thing, right? Culturally, I'm even saying not culturally, but in the family you grew up in, you would eat lunch. Then after lunch, it'd be what's for dinner? And then what's a little...
I'm not picky.
No.
I would eat anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. But there are some food dietary restrictions you have. What are brands, foods, places that you've been to eat that you would recommend for somebody who has to deal with restrictions?
That's a good question. So I avoid gluten and yeast.
Yeah.
I try not to eat a ton of sugar, and there are just certain things that I don't feel great when I eat them.
Right.
And I'll preface it all with, the more that I've become social and invested in personal relationships and friends and going out to eat with friends and whatever, I feel great, and I am not experiencing weird symptoms. And I think there's something very powerful about community and gathering around a table and not being stressed out. There's been times in my life where I'm very stressed out about my food restrictions, which I think cause more issues than eating the food. So when I'm out and experiencing a fun time and, I order a cocktail, I really just stick by avoiding gluten, because when I eat gluten, my immune system gets weak and I get sick a lot. But I won't die if I have a piece of pasta. So all that to say, I find that any place that sees food as art, while it is art, they are creative enough to think about alternatives for you. So obviously if you go to a restaurant where the chef is oh my gosh, you have to just eat whatever he gives you. Yeah. Respect that. Don't go there if you have a million restrictions. Yeah. But if you go to a place that uses fresh food and they're just aware of those things, I tend to look for places that note vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free options, because then I know that they've just thought about that before and they can help you craft something that helps. We went to a random restaurant in Fort Wayne called something.
Oh, it was some Hoppy Gnome. Yeah.
And they were if you want coconut milk in your food instead of regular, or you want anything made paleo. And I was whoa, that's crazy. But I think any restaurant that's just willing to...
Fort Wayne, Indiana, not the other one.
I was so shocked. Oh, is there another Fort Wayne? Oh. So I think just being aware of that stuff. And brands, I love going on to Thrive Market. They have a ton. You can shop by, I think they call shop by, not lifestyle or preference, but it's basically categories. So if you're paleo, vegan, one of the categories is mom, which is, it just means basically you have kids, I think.
What if I was walking around I'm actually on the mom diet, so that's why I only can eat mom approved
when I always
foods.
see it, I'm that's so funny. Also why not dad? It's just rude. Anyways.
Come on, Thrive Market.
So I like shopping on there, and basically, I don't know, I just feel like keeping your eyes open, being willing to talk about things. But again, if you have like an extreme food allergy or sensitivity, don't go out to eat.
Right.
Or be mad when you can't get something.
Locally in Columbus, what are places that you found that can go above and beyond of taking care of, or like where do you go where you're like, maybe it's not on the menu that it's whatever, but they can take care of me? Or what are places around town where you're like, oh, I love going there, that are maybe more favorable to somebody else who has restrictions?
Chain restaurant wise, I like Bear Burger.
Yep.
Even Five Guys, you can get like a lettuce wrap and it's still delicious. Tons of gluten-free pizza options. I avoid eating yeast, so I can't really do anything.
I don't need you to give answers for people who are not you.
Okay.
Just give me your answers.
My own answers?
Yeah.
Good. That's a good way to think about it. I also really like, I think the Cameron Mitchell restaurants, the waiters and waitresses are just really good at talking to you about the things that you have.
They seem to be really educated about every level of ingredient that's in the food.
Yeah.
Which allows them to pretty quickly, we have friends and family who have like an allergy to black pepper that's more serious than just a preference. And so
for sure.
We know what places to take them.
My 3 top favorite restaurants right now that are pricier, but I feel like if I'm going to go out to eat, I might as well eat like high quality food. A Service Bar and Veritas, and oh my gosh, I'm like totally blanking.
It's like a dog, but it's like more like wild. But like,
Wolf's Ridge.
Yeah, there you go.
I was like brain fart. Wolf's Ridge. Those 3 are like, you'll
spend a lot more. What do they call it, a brain fart?
A brain fart?
Yeah, like when it just pauses.
Oh, I don't know.
That's weird.
What if you were like, oh, I just had a bottom
We'll link
fart.
it up in the show notes. Go ahead.
Those 3, like, they annotate when something's vegetarian and gluten-free, and I just feel like overall I get to eat a lot of delicious things, not just like I'll take a salad or I'll eat like a whatever, and I'm eating less meat, so you know, it's great.
We went to Veritas, and there was a dessert that was like a cheesecake thing, and they were like, and you're like, is this gluten-free? And they were like, no, but I'm gonna have the chef work on something for you, and they came out with this other thing that was like a cheesecake.
It was amazing. And I just appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just the idea that there's somebody somewhere who has the power and understanding to be like, I can fix your problem for you.
For sure.
I understand what's going on. I think that's pretty cool, and you don't find that.
And again, like if you're like putting yourself in harm's way by maybe eating something you shouldn't, don't like put that on a waiter. Like, to me, that's mean.
I think could you sometimes watch people go through a Chipotle line and be like, I need you to like change all that and don't touch that and don't be. I'm like, don't go here.
Yeah. You should learn how to cook.
It's some of that's like
it's too much.
Yeah.
I'd rather just get a headache the next day from eating something that doesn't like make me feel good than be
It's like pulling up through the McDonald's drive-thru and being like, tell me everything that's in this. Where does this come from?
Right. You're in the wrong line.
Don't do this.
Yeah. Don't do this to yourself.
Don't do this to yourself. Good call. Next question.
All right.
You have been teaching a lot.
Yeah.
Classes, workshops.
Yeah.
Talk about how you balance teaching and producing things. Maybe which motivates you. Why do you, you often say you didn't expect to be teaching as much as you're teaching. That wasn't your intention.
Right.
And now you find yourself doing a lot and sort of enjoying it, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, so talk about that a little bit.
Well, I think the first thing is for me, I'm only speaking from experience. When I started seeing that people were gaining knowledge and understanding and getting excited because of what I was teaching, that's when it changed for me. I would not really thrive in an environment where like every student is like half asleep on their computer, required to be there. That's like not my passion. So sometimes people are like, oh my gosh, you've been teaching a lot. Would you ever go back to school and like become a professor? And I'm like, hell no.
No.
So that's the first thing that's important. The second would be, I am teaching things that I do. So I am teaching you how I do them. I am not the final, what's the term?
champion.
I'm not the final champion. No, I'm not like, what?
Master tinkerer.
Yeah. I am not the master tinkerer. And so I don't know all. And you could be doing it better than me. I encourage people who take my classes to be like, if you know how to do this better, tell me.
Yeah.
But I think there's something powerful about learning from someone who makes a living doing the thing that they're teaching.
I think so too.
Kind of checks out. I mean, I remember being in college and just thinking, well, the person that's teaching me hasn't done this thing in a really long time. So that's been really huge. I have to be teaching something that I do, and I can say it is successful in that I support myself financially through this business, and the client likes it, and I'm not a super technical person.
Yeah.
So I teach from my own experience, my own way of approaching the things that I teach. And, when I teach food photography, you're not going to show up and figure out like how I make Crisco look like ice cream. I'm going to just show you how I actually use real food, and I'm not going to be using toxic ingredients or something,
Yeah.
Not saying Crisco's toxic, but like, don't eat it.
I think it's such, you so much. I've watched you teach, and you do so much of, I'm just going to explain to you what's going on in my head as I'm doing things. Mm-hmm. And I think it really surprises people, one, that you don't have to sit and think about, like, you don't think about the same stuff all the time while you're taking a picture.
Right.
You need to understand these settings, but then we're going to start talking about something else of what makes a picture interesting.
I mean, design is one thing, but with photography, you have so many different variables. I love teaching and figuring it out with the people I'm teaching.
Yeah. I
don't want to just be like, like cooking shows where they have everything pre-made / pre-chopped and like everything's easy. I'm like the anti-cooking show.
Yeah. No, I think that's really cool. What parts, if there was a younger designer or photographer who is earlier in their career, would you encourage them to start finding opportunities to teach things now? Or how would you tell someone to balance that with like gain expertise? How did you think about those things or think through those things?
Well, oh man, that's tough because I mean, I think you first have to be willing to like put yourself out there and like be open to, like, I know a lot of young designers would be like, I'm not going to teach design because I still don't know a lot, but I still don't know a lot. So you just have to be comfortable. Like if you can imagine teaching someone, realize that there's always someone who knows less than you.
Yeah.
So if you are like a year into designing full time, you can still teach a ton to someone who's never designed before. You can probably even teach a lot of conceptual how to approach design, and it doesn't even have to be technical. So many people are looking to get into a creative field, and they ask me like, should I go back to school? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Learn from someone, and you can learn from anyone. If you know nothing, you could ask someone who's been doing it for a week, and they'll be able to share something.
Share what they've learned. How would you tell somebody to test to figure out if they like teaching or not?
That's a good question. I think my first inclination is like try teaching online, but that's a completely different experience. I would ask things like different libraries within your community or like community centers, YMCA, different things like that, because those people would love to craft something like that. Yeah. Don't charge money, get feedback. And you're going to be nervous. Like I don't get nervous when I teach. I still do when I'm speaking, but teaching is just like, I'm doing my thing and you're kind of watching, and then you can ask me questions and I might not always know the answer. Yeah.
That's cool. I think it's very useful to meet with, can you teach one-on-one? Like, can you sit down with somebody who's like, I need help learning Photoshop. And you're like, can you sit down with that person?
Right.
And do a good job of walking people through, okay, first you're going to want to do this, and then you're going to want to do this.
And teaching someone how to design, you first have to teach someone like how to think about design, and then you have to talk about like, how does this tool help you accomplish that? Just because you know how to make a shape in Photoshop doesn't mean you understand where you're going with it.
Yeah.
So.
Truth. That's so true.
That's hard. True. Yeah.
This has been pretty fun.
Yeah, I like these quick chats.
I appreciate your time. And thank you for sharing all of your
Thank you for asking
wisdom and information. Is there anything new and exciting that's recently launched in your world?
That's such a funny question.
I'm so curious.
I want to start asking people that I see at the grocery store, like, has anything exciting recently launched in your world?
Have you launch partied anything lately?
Okay, yes. This week our membership launched.
The content did.
Yep.
Capsule number 1.
So that's dropped, which is exciting, and it's filled with amazing people. We had a lot of people sign up. We're excited to teach them, and each month 12 different sections gets released within the course.
Yeah.
Or the membership. We call that a capsule. We kind of it was inspired by albums. Artists get to drop these very curated, thought out albums, and we wanted to do that. So 12 sections, ranging from downloads to recordings to tutorials, things like that. And then it also comes with a monthly webinar, a monthly Q&A, and a Facebook group that's private. It's the only place that you can connect with me on Facebook because I deleted my other one, and now I just have one that I use for this, and I am not friends with anyone.
I know. I was thinking today.
Good luck friending me.
Well, I was thinking, and then also my mom texted me to confirm that I was correct about this, but I was thinking maybe if there's family members who really miss seeing you on Facebook, they could pay for an annual membership just to talk to you on Facebook.
That'd be great.
Which would be
hilarious.
A weird thing to be sending to aunts and uncles.
Right.
And if you want to see my content on Facebook, please.
And it's not even the same.
It's not, yeah.
Whatever. So right now it's $84 for the year.
Right.
And that price will increase again on April 1st.
It goes up on the 1st.
No joke, because it's April Fool's Day.
It's also Easter.
Yeah.
We want to talk about Easter and April Fool's Day being the same day?
So weird.
No jokes about that?
No jokes.
Okay.
And so the price will go up, and it's an annual fee every month on the 1st.
It's a one-time fee that you pay annually.
I love that Portlandia
it's so good.
reference.
Yeah.
So we're really excited about that. And our online store reopened. You can...
It relaunched.
Yep. You can pre-order our empathy shirts and some diamond sweatshirts.
Correct.
You can represent the Wonder Jam out in the wild.
Has someone won the Instagram thing?
As of right now, no.
As of right now,
But when this goes up, yes.
Okay. So that will have happened?
Yeah.
Very cool. Congratulations to...
The winner. You are so awesome. But yeah, so we're really excited about those two things. We've been busy working on it. And now we can just hang out in the membership.
And go... Yeah.
And go what?
And go work on some other things.
Yeah. Just time to do the next one.
It's now we can just code.
Yeah, whoever said passive income is not work hasn't done it.
Truth.
Or they're just ripping people off.
That's a good reference from the last podcast where I said that.
I'm just trying to be like you. But yeah, so we're excited about it. Check it out.
So in summary, watch Chef's Table, Black Panther.
Join our membership.
Get a t-shirt.
Review this podcast.
Go to restaurants that take care of your food.
Yep.
Practice teaching if you want to. And producer Michael requests a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts because that helps us be famous.
Oh, great.
Or rich.
No.
Neither.
Just listen to.
It's a good time.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening.